All right, everybody.
Welcome to the Sansar Show. Oh my gosh, I see somebody just sprinting back and forth outside. Oh geez, they're probably trying to run away. Come back! That's okay. But everybody, can we please get a little round of applause right now? We have a very great guest with us today. His name is Nadir Hossain. He's over here in the Starry t-shirt. You can do a slash clap or with your hands. There we go. That was nice. Yep. So
how's it going, everybody?
That was like a polite one. Awesome. Excellent. Okay, but you guys, we are just about to start this conversation, but first, this is actually Nadir's first time inside Sansar. So we're going to give him a little quick tour around the house, and then we're going to take the conversation outside, and we're going to dive into all types of really cool stuff. Nadir he's currently, by day, he works on the Tesla Supercharger Network, and we're going to be talking a lot about some of the crazy stuff that's going on over there, and with sustainable energy and living off the grid, as well as talking about some kind of underground, more cultural type of items, because Nadir is also very, very big into the LA kind of underground dance culture. So with that, let's go show Nadir around. Nadir, come and take a look here. Actually, first, if I can have you just hop on over this way. We'll take a look at the paintings up on the wall. These were all photos taken during past Sansar Top 5 shows.
Ah, very cool.
This is great. This is kind of our home base, so to speak, there. Oh, geez. Oh, you're blocked. You're also stuck in my bathroom right now.
What's going on right here? Is this... who's the homie in the pink skeleton?
Oh, yeah. That's a great outfit. It's on the store. Oh, my gosh. Ravioli, did you show up in a transparent pickle?
Yes, I'm a ghost pickle.
Well, I would expect nothing else. Okay, it's getting way too rowdy inside here. We need to head out back. Let's do it. Woo! Oh, man. Let's just stretch the legs, breathe in the ocean breeze, huh? Oh, Shalas, make sure you don't swallow that gum accidentally. I've been there.
I know, or don't kick up sand either.
Yeah, it gave me digestive issues for a long time.
Hey, Sam, what do you got on your back right there?
Yo, oh, you like this? You admiring this? This is my special Sansar thing, so everybody knows where I am. You know, if my loud voice shouting at the top of my lungs nonstop wasn't enough, you can always follow along this way. Hey, cool. So, maybe what we'll do this time, though, Nadir, you had actually brought up, you're like, wait, so we're just going to be standing around the whole time? I was like, well, maybe we'll do little circles around the experience as we're chatting.
Yeah.
So, like, it'll be like a big group chat as we're kind of talking about all this stuff. Does that work for everybody in here, or do you just want to stay stagnant in one spot?
Walk and talk sounds great.
Walk and talk. Oh, and by the way, Twirly is our event producer and videographer and amazing watermelon cat head.
Too kind.
Twirly.
Now streaming live.
Some love. That's
glad to have you all here.
Nice to meet you, Twirly. Very cool.
Nice to meet you too.
There it is. Okay, so cool. So we have a whole bunch of items. I got it on my phone here. I really should have just pinned it in here, but I was not thinking ahead of time. But let's do this, Nadir. As we start walking and talking, let's just talk a little bit about, I know you're really passionate about living off the grid and how that might be possible. Do you mind, as we kind of walk and move around here, let's just head on past over this way. Everybody, come along. Let's do it. We can't do a show in Sansar and just stand around the whole time. It just defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, this is wild. I'm still taking this all in. I mean, Sam and I were just talking about, what's this world called, Sam? San Junipero?
San Junipero. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was just watching that episode of Black Mirror last night. Oh, the coincidence. Yeah.
Which one of Black Mirror? Episode, the San Junipero.
San Junipero. Yeah.
Fresh in your memory.
I didn't see that one.
I love that episode.
I mean,
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, one of my favorite things ever.
Oh, so good.
Is that the one that was kind of like Star Trek?
It was that's not the Star Trek one. That's the one. Well, I don't want to ruin it for anyone.
That one was cool.
Okay, yeah, the Star Trek one was also quite good.
Yeah, but when I found out it was a simulation, it ruined it for me.
That ruined it all for you. What if you found out all of this was a simulation?
Netflix.
What if I told you 3/4 of the people here were actually NPCs?
That would put me off to this.
That's good.
Well,
we know better.
Well, that's what I love about this whole concept. It's like any one of us right now can be in any part of the world. Like, no one knows where I'm living right now, but right now we're all at San Junipero. Mm-hmm. And that just fascinates me. You know, like this whole idea of you can live anywhere in the world off the grid or in a city, but then you can like just check out at any time and go into this virtual created world.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that we were talking about a lot because so something, and I wanted Nadir to talk about a little bit, like one thing that you've told me a bunch about is this whole deal, you know, like cities are getting bigger and bigger, more and more populated, and so what would it take for somebody to live off the grid, and could they live off the grid? And one item that we always talked about as being like a really kind of big barrier is you're just away from everybody that matters to you. So how can you kind of merge the two? And so I thought now maybe social VR is one way to kind of do it. But do you want to tell people a little bit about some of your high-level ideas on what it would take to live off the grid?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that I do is like at Tesla, right? Like it's. I mean, we're all over the news, and a lot of the work that we're trying to push forward is this idea of not being so dependent on cities and municipalities and governments when you're trying to get power to a city. Like I live in a Western world. Like in the U.S., we're very fortunate. Like we got water and electricity everywhere. But if you go to like a third world country like Bangladesh, right? Like water is super scarce, electricity is super scarce. So how do you create a world where you don't really got to rely on a government or a politician or some lobbyist to give you what you need? So like a lot of the tech that like the Tesla's working on, a lot of other great companies are working on is creating products to make it so you're living in your own sustainable way, completely independent, off the grid. You can be, you know, it's more like you buy the land and then we do the rest type of concept where you buy a plot of land and then you build your home, your own city. You have your own set of like wastewater, like energy, like drinking water, all the above, right? And you're not relying on anybody. And then whenever I talk to you about Sansar and like VR and like what the whole entertainment aspect can come in, like the human aspect of connecting with other people, like even, you know, if we're at a point where you can't physically be near somebody for like a month, a week, or maybe a couple years because of some remote job or because you choose to live a more tranquil life in the forest, you can just tap in and just hang out with a transparent pickle or hang out with Sam or like hang out with anybody else. You know, it's exciting and it's a beautiful thing if you think about it.
So I think it's incredibly beautiful. However, I just saw a stick figure running back there, which put me off for a second. But no, I think one thing that you brought up along with that is the different kind of countries and people. Everybody comes from a different sort of a different background, right? Their home, their country, their culture, and everything. So Nadir was talking to me earlier. He's like, "Oh yeah," and so Nadir's from Bangladesh, and he's like, "Oh, there are these crazy riots and things going on in Bangladesh right now." And I was like, "Man, I wish I could see what that was like. I wish I could feel it like firsthand." And I was like, you know, there's a couple of ways. One, you could have like a live video stream. That's okay too. I would almost also it would be super cool if there was a whole like Bangladesh experience where it's showing off what like some of the, you know, maybe some videos of what was going on there, maybe some animated NPCs are kind of showing off like the actual riots with all the actual issues around it, so you can walk in to a live museum showing off something that's actually happening around the world somewhere, but you can actually physically feel like you got a whole grasp of it, both sides of the issue and everything, right there, living the struggle as some of the people are, so to speak, and then you take off your headset and you can go get your Taco Bell.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I'm sure we all got a lot of places that we are super either curious about or like always wish we wanted to visit. Like Bangladesh, great example. Like 3 days ago, there was a bunch of like students that got killed, and there's a lot of riots after that. So now everyone's marching the streets. The country shut off the internet. All you can do is have your own like private set of like Wi-Fi routers to connect to the outside world. They shut off social media. It's basically impossible to find out what's going on. So if you can like jump into VR and be like, "Hey Sam, like what's going on? Let me fill you in on what's happening in the streets over here," or if you can like even create a virtual world where it can like replicate what's happening.
Yeah.
Like educate, you know. So,
and on that then too, I think it's kind of crazy when you think about how can you actually bring people into what you're seeing and thinking, right? And that's, I would say that's actually not a terrible way of even articulating what Sansar is to a lot of people, and myself included at times. And that is just, Sansar is my way of bringing other people into the things I care the most about. Sometimes it's really cool experiences. Sometimes it's things that are quite personal, right? So when I bring it into Sam Junipero, obviously it's this amazing mansion on the beach that we'd all want to live at, no doubt. But it's also a great place to keep memories, right? So we've got all the photos up on the wall, and this place is going to continue to get built out. Switching topics real fast, just because while we have you here, we were talking about something super interesting that is really, really relevant. It had to do with Tesla and the Gigafactory. And we were talking about how it's kind of crazy that the Gigafactory is like this one, it's just one massive machine almost. And they really don't want tons and tons and tons of humans all wandering all around there all the time. And so how could, as more, I know Elon was talking, I think it was last week, and he was saying there's going to be a Gigafactory in China and potentially in Europe. And how could you on the design side or anybody else feel like they're walking all around or be walking all around the Gigafactory live or use it to help figure out what the problems are or how they can kind of make improvements going forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were just talking about this, right? Like, how does, because before you and I met and I put on the headset, I was thinking, like, how does, like, Tesla and the stuff we're doing or any kind of big company creating massive, innovative products, how does VR come into play, right? And I've done some work with the Gigafactory, which if for you guys that aren't familiar with what that is, it's one of the largest buildings in the world, and it's where we're going to produce the most lithium-ion batteries ever in history. And it's after 10 or 12 of these facilities, after they're built, we can support the supply of power for the entire world and then some, right? So it's really exciting work. But what fascinates me the most and how like VR can even get integrated into it is the factory itself. It's meant for everything being autonomous and being fully off the grid. So as far as electricity goes, you got solar panels on the rooftop, you got battery storage. There's no dependence on the local infrastructure. And then on the inside of the building, it's meant for like 95% robots and machinery and maybe 5% humans. If that, like the end goal is to have a couple people to maintain the factory, like security, maybe someone valet, maybe someone making coffee in the front. But for the most part, the entire factory runs autonomously through machine learning. So like every day it progresses, it gets smarter than the day before. So me as an engineer, or if I'm managing a certain part of the facility, like how do I go about it? Like I can't fly out to Nevada and then go inside the Gigafactory. You know, it's hot as hell out there. I'd rather stay in my air-conditioned room or wherever I'm at. I can just hop in this virtual rendering of the Gigafactory and just walk around and make sure, oh, this robot's good to go. Do I need to call a technician, or we're all the trucks are here for the next delivery? So it's like this whole idea of operating and managing big manufacturing plants or basically anything that you're building, but like remotely off the grid. And that's sustainable in a sense too, right? Because you're not putting human capital at risk, whether it's safety or like their time flying out there trying to figure out where they're going to work. You can do it all virtually. So like I can spend an hour working at the Gigafactory, and then I can go to our design office in LA and then start working with the SpaceX guys on the launch that's happening next week. So it's all in a matter of days I can make that happen. Whereas before it'd be like, I got to spend a week of travel and figuring all that stuff out. You know?
Quick question on that one. Who here, okay, if you're in VR, can you just raise your hand if you are? If you're in 2D, maybe you can do like a slash point. Who here lives in a city? Hands down. Okay, one. Anybody else? Let's do it one time. City, I see like 2 hands. So is it fair? A lot of the rest of us, heck yeah, you got it, Zoe, right there. So the rest of us, do we kind of live in like more rural or suburban areas? The reason I was asking is just for this, what I thought would be super cool is, you know, as transportation gets to be more and more, say, autonomous, you know, everybody's trying to get the autonomous. I think Tesla's probably at the forefront of this, right? Where no hands, or maybe you're using a boring company and you're just sitting back and the car isn't even moving itself, right? You know, it's just on kind of pods or whatever else it happens to be. What I keep on thinking is, as VR goes more and more mainstream, and the headsets obviously get cheaper, more likely they also get a lot more comfortable, and you can do VR and AR together. As transportation becomes more and more hands-free, people are going to be switching, either going straight on your phone or your laptop or on your VR headset. So is there a future that we could imagine, maybe it's 10 years out, that might even be too far, where people are sitting in their Tesla in a boring company underground tunnel, going from one city or one location to the other, while wearing their VR headset and hanging out with their friends inside the headset while they're underground in a Tesla in a tunnel?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm living that world. Like this past year, I was fortunate enough to get a Tesla, and I got one of the beta cars from the company, which is fully autonomous. So if you don't know, it's like you're literally driving on a freeway. It's taking you everywhere, and within 5 minutes, I'm already on my Instagram. I'm already on my Facebook. I'm not even looking at the road, and within hours, I'm getting to my destination. It's something that before you had to be so focused on the road, and it's what experience is utility is used to be an experience. They used to go hand in hand. Now the utility is becoming so non-invasive, like you're not even thinking about it. So like when it comes to driving from destination A to destination B, you have all this blank space of time that before you didn't have. You know, like imagine driving, I don't know if you've ever been to Las Vegas, but there's like a long drive through Death Valley, right? It takes like 2-3 hours. Imagine just sitting, and now you have 2-3 hours of free time, and you can just tap out and maybe put on a headset, maybe go into some kind of video game or check on your email, but you don't even have to be in the front seat, right? You can be in the back seat, and that's really exciting. So I'll put that on a larger scale with like Boring Company or like other mass transit initiatives where the whole idea is keep people in their same human experience and not have them phased by this idea of oh, I gotta go find a bus, I gotta go drive and focus on the road, you know.
Well, I think that's something that I'm always, you know, and especially in this show format, since our top 5, everybody knows that we'll be going to after this is more about crazy, wild, magic school bus, high energy experiences. In here, one thing I always want to call out is this is very much meant to be humanity meets VR, right? So how is it can also be, as humanity becomes more and more tech-centric, how can that meet VR? But also, how can we make sure, in essence, just being human still carries over into VR also? So I think certain things like self-expression, right? So Nadir, I mean, we spent a little while picking out this outfit, and that T-shirt is so perfectly you. Yeah. But I look around, like, I can now call out, I know, I must have spent, Troy, how many hours had we spent talking or hanging out in VR before I ever even knew what you looked like in person?
Oh, it feels like it was countless. There's great many conversations for sure.
But I always do it Troy, and then I think that's the one funny thing about VR is like you start having, at least in Sansar, the humanity side, and raise your hand, in fact, I actually can call it out here in a second. The more time you spend in Sansar, the more you want to have a go-to look or item in that look that everybody associates with you, right? So I know Solas, if she's in here, which is, I think she's back there, she's probably blowing bubble gums. She's probably blowing the bubble gum. I know Madhu. I know I always recognize you by the headpiece you got on right here. Tori does. I always got the red thing on my back. I'm repping my own Sensor Top 5. And it's so funny how you can be anything. And I think what ends up happening is you want to be all these crazy things, but a lot of times you also just want to be the thing that other people identify with you. And what's funny about it is that seems to me to be inherently human, right? Where you still want your own self-expression. I want people to know that this is Sam. Or you want people to know that this is Nadir, right? Like, and those kind of things just, to me, get sort of insane. And so even as we get more and more technologically advanced with, you know, you can be autonomous, you can do all of that, I just keep on wondering how will people continue to make sure that they are represented in all of this crazy technology that's happening, including VR. I don't know. But to Zoe's comment, you could also play driving games while you're on the road.
I mean, me being in Sansar for the first time pretty much, and like this is like my first 20 minutes, right? Like in this world, I mean, I'm fascinated by like everyone having like their own outfits, their own get-ups. Because at the end of the day, like when you're in the quote unquote real world and reality, base reality, whatever you say it is, it's everyone wants their own signature. Everyone wants to feel some sense of importance, whether it's for yourself, for your social circle, whether you're at work or any kind of environment, whether it's your outfit or if you're a dancer, right, you have your own signature dance move. If you're a musician and you're jamming out in a circle, everyone wants to stand out in their own way. But like being in VR, it has that new dimension of endless opportunities, right? Like, look around right now, like some of these outfits, I mean, you can't really walk around in downtown LA with some of these outfits, right? You could, but it's not very common. Whereas I feel like in this environment, it's a lot more accepted and you don't have this sense of like judgment where people are worried about perception, you know?
I still want to point out that I judge every single person that is in Sansar super hard. Just call that out. You guys know, if you're top 5 regulars, you know there's lots of judgment. But no, you bring up a great point, and just to kind of, as a final kind of topic here, let's talk a little bit about the types of, how do you call it, cultural or performance dance or performance art. Because I know you've seen a whole bunch of it. Is there anything about performance art that you think, oh, that would work well in VR? Or, truthfully, maybe sometimes it shouldn't be part of VR and it should just stay in its own medium?
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance of both worlds, right? Like, I'm a huge music head, and I love going to a lot of big music festivals and see some of my favorite DJs. So, like, being out there physically in person, like the sweat, the heat, the sound, you know, the dirty porta potties, it's all part of the experience, right? But if you're like, let's say there's a musician or an artist that can't get a visa to come to the country that you're living in, or just doesn't go on tour in the West or whatever, how do you go experience that music? How do you get that same sensation? Then I feel like VR is the perfect alternative. It's the most close you can get, right? And if I want to go see the Gorillaz live, and the Gorillaz do this huge cinematic performance where you'd be lucky to get invited or to get tickets to, that's a perfect show to get a front row seat in VR, and maybe it's rendered as a live feed, or it's just the people at Gorillaz, they work with the Sansar designers and they create their own environment for the virtual world to experience. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and you can still, and the more concerts you go to like that, you'll start replicating those same sensations of like excitement and just that rush of happiness when you're physically there, you know?
Well, what do you think? So one thing that I don't know, we kind of think about a decent amount is this idea. So, you know, that quote, video killed the radio star. Is VR going to kill the video star, or will it just provide the video stars with a whole new means of kind of showing off their act, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, I see it as like another medium, another layer, right? It's like you're making this big, delicious lasagna that you're super excited to eat, and each layer of technology that you keep layering on top. I'm actually pretty hungry, that's why I use the lasagna example. But like, you keep
Taco Bell that we were talking about earlier.
That's after, right? No, but it's like, I think about it as like there'll be critics and there'll be people, like even in my world, and then some of the people I look up to in my industry, they'll be speaking negatively of new innovation when it comes to media or VR. But like, the way I look at it is, it's just another flavor. It's another medium to express yourself on. And it's all going to be vertically integrated where you can just innovate off that platform. Like, even when I was choosing this outfit and we were like, should I tuck in my shirt? Should I untuck in my shirt? Just that feature itself, it just starts making you think like, all right, that's Gen 1. What's Gen 10? What's Gen 50 going to be? And you keep building off that. So, so that's...
It's so true. Sorry, I'm just having us walk over this way because I want us to all like see.
You're gonna have me jump off the cliff,
avatars are strolling this way. I think one thing that's kind of funny is like, you go, guys, we're gonna take this whole conversation, we're gonna wrap it up over by the volleyball courts over this way. Woo! But the reason I'm calling it out and didn't want to interrupt there, just before we run out of time, gotta move my chat window out of my frame here.
What guy?
So when it comes to like those different types of mediums, are there people, do you think, like people that are really big video stars or on TV that just won't really overlap in the VR, and instead there will be other people that can really take better advantage of the medium? Or do you think it'll just be more of like a straight like, hey, here are the folks that are really good, big time video stars, and they'll just kind of plop right over into VR and then just be massive over there too?
I mean, when it comes to creators, right? Like, I feel like, look at YouTube and what happened. You had people that were on Vine. You had people that were on Snap. You had even like independent filmmakers. Casey Neistat, great example. He went into this new medium called YouTube, where before it was just like a platform where people would upload videos. Now it's becoming TV. It's what we all use to gather all creative content, period. Like, there's billions of hours of content being uploaded every 30 seconds. So I feel like there's going to be creators that jump on the platform and then they innovate themselves, and then the masses follow. And even like the manufacturers, the software designers, the people creating the product itself, they're going to pivot and want to appease the creators. That's exactly what YouTube did. That's exactly what all the other thought leaders in those platforms are, or the creative thought leaders. They're going to come in and they're going to disrupt what the manufacturer thought was going to happen, and it's just going to be the floodgates of creativity. Like the same thing's going to happen in VR.
You know, some would argue that this group of creators is already pushing the floodgates of creativity too far, but that's only because I've seen some of Ravioli's experiences. But no, I'm just kidding. Ravioli, you have the best ones. Okay, well, guys, we have got to wrap this show because we're going to be heading over to Sansar Top 5 in about 2 minutes. I'm going to pound a glass of water real fast. Can we give a big round of applause for Nadir? Nadir's going to be joining us for Sansar Top 5 as well. Yes, right there in VR, clapping, or 2D. Woo! Or if you're shy, just blow up the chat because I got it open too. It looks like it's mainly just Naya spamming people.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me. I'll definitely be back.
Heck yeah. All right, and everybody, if you haven't, we're going to be starting up Sansar Top 5 in about 3 minutes, Torley?
Indeed.
3 minutes, and we're doing it in the Roddenberry Nexus?
Yes,
Starting off there?
you're beginning there, the final frontier.
Awesome. All right, everybody, we will see you in about 3 minutes over in the Roddenberry Nexus. Thank you so much for tuning in, and this show is going to be wild this week.
Thanks so much, Nadir.
All right, I'm popping out to go drench my
I don't
face
know
in
what we're
water.
doing. That's
We're gonna. Torley's
There's
gonna.
no
Some things
outro
up
yet.
I'm trapped.
Like do.
Dude.
There we go. That's the outro.
Too adult.